You got me intrigued on your moon theory, because honestly, you're hitting jackpots with so many stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that we're getting reports about too.
Pence said NASA needs to achieve that goal by any means necessary. Now, do you hear that? By any means necessary. He's basically saying we have to go to the moon. Why? I don't think people are connecting the dots. Something is going on. Again, there was some information that I got about something. Now, you may remember there was something that went completely viral around the internet. Myself and a few others were the first to report on it, and it went all over the place. Even Drama Alert covered it. Secure Team 10 covered it. A lot of big, over 1 million viewer channels covered this story. Now, if you look right here, you'll see that there were, several. There was probably 200 different YouTubers that did stories on it, including Secure Team 10, Drama Alert, John X Army, Grand Supreme News. There was a lot of big ones, actually, that covered this. So basically what the theory was is that there was a gentleman that put out a video. It was a soldier in full uniform, which people at least confirmed that it was a real uniform. So there was a couple things going on. He was basically sweaty. He was really panicked. And he was saying, he was live streaming, and he basically posted it, and it went viral like immediately. He said that there was, that they knew something was going to hit the moon, like an asteroid or something like this, in the next 3 years. I didn't get to see this video myself, but we knew that this thing basically got up to 250, 300,000 views or something like that before it was taken down. Then YouTube went down completely. So there was a lot of theories floating around, like they actually shut down YouTube to wipe the internet of it. Just like we saw with NZ, they actually were stopping uploads of it. They were stopping copies of it. They were stopping everything. They actually disengaged certain features, which it's kind of funny because I called this before the NZ thing, and that was the first time publicly that they announced that they actually took away features like date and time in the filters. They did this that day. I don't know if you guys remember that. Not only that, everybody was talking about it. Everybody was saying, did you see this? They basically did tons and tons and tons of videos. It says impact of a strange object while on the moon, blah, blah. So then basically what happened is it got turned into, somebody used an older video of, I believe, something really hitting the moon. It might have been a comet or an asteroid or whatever, hit it, and you can kind of see it. Some people think it's fake. I think it's actually real, but the thing is things hit the moon all the time. The smaller things aren't going to mess it up. But what this gentleman said is this isn't something that already happened. It was something that was going to happen in the next 3 years or so. Now, the scary part is, so if we lose our moon, we would, of course, basically lose our Earth. Without the moon, Earth would not have the perfect situation for life on Earth. Now, what is even crazier is that we have pulled up a lot of different stuff. During the Cold War, the U.S. actually had a real plan to do something with the moon, either nuke the moon or do some sort of plan where they destroyed the moon, and it was a plan that would create world peace. This sounds crazy, but let me just look it up so you guys aren't thinking like, what are you talking about? Cold War crazy. America and Russia both had plans to nuke the moon. This was a real thing. Both the East and West wanted to make sure the world knew who was the top superpower. But how? Being the first to the moon was the top prize. In the early days of the space race, both countries thought it was the best way to prove that they had been to the moon was to nuke it. In 1958, the Armor Research Foundation, the precursor to the Illinois Institute of Technology, developed a plan with guidance from the Air Force. Designated Project A119, or a study of lunar research flights, the ARFs, just need an M on that, inquiries looked into the possible effects of a nuclear detonation on the lunar surface between 1949 and 1962. So with this, I'm telling you, there was other plans too, and there's was a book that was wrote about this that actually hit the top 5, and then it was like banned in several countries. I've got to look into what it was called, but it talks about how basically we were planning on doing something to the moon to screw up the Earth's wobble. It was a threat. Basically, it was a threat to the other countries, saying, even if you do that, it was at a point where mutual assured destruction wasn't guaranteed, and they didn't know for sure. They said, well, we know what we can do. We can launch it and hit the moon, and then boom, the whole place goes down. So it was mutually assured destruction for the entire world. And it was a threat that basically said, don't bomb us, otherwise we'll just bomb everybody. In turn, it would be hell on earth if the moon was destroyed, if we listen to the science that they have told us. So this is a real thing, right? People probably looked at us like we're crazy. So then bringing this back up with what happened. Now, by the way, this went all over YouTube. Everybody covered it. And it was really weird that everybody, all of a sudden, it triggered everybody. And that's because there was at least 250,000 to 300,000. And when I made that original video, everybody was commenting, I saw it. It was the scariest thing ever. Basically, the guy gets pulled out of frame and the camera goes dark. So he was in the middle of basically saying that they know about this. It's going to destroy our moon, blah, blah, blah. He was sweating, and then everything goes dark. You hear rustling, and then it goes and it cuts out. It just kept going. And then boom, YouTube was down. So everybody made videos about this back then. In fact, you can just look up YouTube shut down moon, and basically you'll find all the videos. I believe, so I was the first person to post on that, and I was lucky. I got the tip from 2 different emails, and I was like, wait, hold on a second. And I clicked it, and it said the video was unavailable. So then I reported on it, and I reported on it during the outage. So I recorded a video and then put it out. That video is now sitting at about 325,000 views. It is called YouTube Shut Down to Quarantine the Moon, which I believe was one of 3 videos that I did regarding the subject, and one was blocked worldwide. It's the only video that I've ever had to this day that has been blocked worldwide. And in that video, I went deeper into the Snowden files and how it connected with the moon subject. Kind of weird, right? So this was a real plan, this, all that. Well, check this out. With everything going on right now, we have several countries going to the moon. It's like all out of a sudden. And US is going to the moon, but they aren't talking about why. In fact, even other countries, Russia and China, are publishing things in their media saying, why are they going to the moon? What is actually going on? And you have Israel, right? They went to the moon and apparently crashed. So I just, there was so many things that was wrong with this. So this is actually a list of all of the moon missions. And as you can see, the red on the right side, which I'll full screen this so you guys can see this. The red on the right side is all the failed missions. Launch failure, launch failure, launch failure. Partial failure, launch failure, launch failure. Most all of these spacecraft failure. So all of these are failures. The green ones are successful. And if you look at the years, it's 1966 through 1967. Just like that, 1 year of successes. And then they have sporadic between 68 and then a bunch of successes from the 70 to, looks like, I don't know what operational means, up until just recently or something. So I'm going to start going through this. 2 meteorites hit the super blood wolf moon. It said, a brief bright flash marks the moment of a meteorite impact on the moon during yesterday's eclipse. It says millions of people around the world watched the moon enter Earth's shadow for almost an hour last weekend during that super blood wolf moon. And as many of you guys know, that wasn't too long ago. Some people noticed a tiny flash on the lunar surface, posting photos and videos of it online. Madito's team used 8 telescopes to observe the moon during the entire eclipse, hoping to finally spot one. The team's software identifies sudden changes in brightness, automatically calculating the time and position of a possible impact. 2 minutes after the first flash, the second one was observed, suggesting the astronomers caught at least 2 potential impacts on the moon. So I'll just go up to this picture here. So you can kind of see, I mean, it looks like a little tiny dot. I'll full screen this so you can see. So I'm going to tie this all together, so don't worry. China just landed on the moon's far side and will probably send astronauts on lunar trips. Now, why the far side? Now, if you think about it, if somebody comes on, they say basically our moon is going to get hit, then all of a sudden you see out of nowhere pop up the hammer, in fact, I'll just pull it up. I always try to do the acronym. Hypervelocity Asteroid Mitigation Mission for Emergency Response is a concept study by NASA on a spacecraft capable of detonating a nuclear bomb to deflect an asteroid if it was on a collision course for Earth. Now, Russia came up with a very similar project. China came up with a laser system that could possibly deflect it. Norway, Sweden, Germany, I want to say even the Netherlands came up with basically a plan for this, right? So countries all over the world are trying to figure out how do you get a asteroid to basically go off course. What are we doing on the moon? Why are we going back to the moon? Why are they being so secretive about it? Why did we start the Space Force? Why did China go to the far side of the moon? And why? I love how they say that the Israel lander just crashed, but isn't that kind of easy? They don't have to say anything. They're up there. They do all of it. They get all the funding to go up there. And then once they get up there, oh, it was going a little bit too fast and it crashed and it's done. Or they could have some sort of lander or something up there. Even though when you see the pictures, you're like, it looks like it's composite and put together. But I'm just thinking hypothetically here. There's a lot of things coming in. Now, one of my sources that was the best source of any source I've ever had, including even some that are high up in, I'll just stop there. One of my sources, which I told you guys 6 months ago, said that the asteroids and I guess the ones that hit, the meteorites, would triple in the next few years. He said that in 3 years, the world would be unrecognizable. I said, is this something, is this something, basically I said, is this the end or is this? He said, no, but it's important enough and it's enough of a change that every country is looking at it. Now, this is somebody who literally goes to White House meetings. So I honestly think that there is something going on. I think that the moon plays a part, and I think that video back then might have been the reason for the YouTube shutdown. Nobody talked about it. I mean, it went around for a couple days. Everybody did videos on it, and then it just went out of everybody's minds. But if you look at the news now, if you look at everything that's going on, it's pretty crazy. So back to the China. It says China's historic robotic mission to the moon's far side could just be a preview of some unprecedented human exploration of Earth's nearest neighbor a few years down the road. Into the next one. NASA wants to go back to the moon the hard way. And the plan does not sit well with a number of outside experts. NASA's Return to the Moon program would involve spending most of a decade building a space station in cislunar space called the Lunar Orbital Platform Gateway. The first moon boots are due to hit the lunar soil in 2028, a decade hence. Earth's air supply may reach nearly 400,000 miles into space, so far that the moon constantly flies through it. So just to repeat that, 400,000 miles into space, Earth's air supply reaches. So again, we just found this out recently. If you did not see previous show, or if you're new here, the entire internet lit on fire for like 1 day. Nobody talked about it past 1 day. Pretty nuts. And a lot of people were even mad. A gentleman actually went viral. Literally had nobody there. He did a video. He was actually mad about it. It went viral, and now he's got a bunch of subscribers just because he talked about this and how mad he was. Because people were shocked. Think about it. There are things that we learned from a very young age, since we were a child, that are completely wrong. When they said things during the historic moon landing that are completely untrue. There's actual quotes from thousands of history books that basically say, all this stuff, when if you just take that simple fact, that makes it not true. The Earth is literally an atmosphere. That means there's air particles around the moon. That means you could set up a system to harvest air around the moon. It's really quite insane. The moon flies through Earth's atmosphere. That's a quote. The moon flies through Earth's atmosphere. A space physicist at Russia's Space Research Institute in Moscow said in a European Space Agency press release, "We are not aware of it until we dusted off observations made over 2 decades ago by the Soho spacecraft." See, I don't believe this. Personally, it's just my personal thought. This isn't something that... I think that they've known this for a very long time. I think that they are slowly and subtly bringing out facts that basically they hid because of the space race, because of all the things that went on between us and the Ruskies and the Chinese, the whole space race. And I think that they all kind of discovered things that would kind of change our minds, and they waited until the proper time. Now they can just slip it into a little, Facebook article, and then people just scroll right past it. We are so distracted with everything else. You put that right under Kanye or Kim Kardashian saying, "Oh, I thought George Bush was a brand name of turkey," and everybody goes nuts. We care about the stupidest things nowadays. But this, I think we should have been looking at a long time ago. Vice President Mike Pence wants to land astronauts on the moon within 5 years. Again, they're doing this, and all the other countries are reporting that we are being super duper uber secretive about it. What is actually going on? Are they planning on putting some sort of system to deflect whatever's going to hit it? I think that there was a lot of fact to this soldier coming on. Just personal opinion on that, by the way. And the things that we've heard, the little snippets, when we put it all together, we're actually thinking, like, what the heck is going on here? Why are they going to the moon? Why, this Israel lander? It's just kind of convenient that it smashes in. The simplest little thing. I'm telling you, I don't think that it actually crashed, if it exists. Vice President Mike Pence on Tuesday called for landing astronauts on the moon within 5 years, an accelerated pace that would aim to put Americans on the lunar South Pole. That would be 2024, folks. Again, by 2025, there are like 50 million predictions that something massive is going to happen. And that's just, just in general. I'm not saying by anybody specific, but if you look, there's so many predictions for 2025. Not as many as when, we had 2012, of course. You had the Mayan calendar. You had all these, but I'm talking about the clairvoyance, these prophecies, all these things line up to 2025. And some say that the Mayan calendar was actually off if they count some of the cuneiform or some of the new tablets that they found just last November. So we're looking at maybe a time difference, that maybe 2025 is the year. Just saying, I don't know if I believe that, but it's something that's been floating around. It says, Pence said NASA needs to achieve that goal by any means necessary. Now, do you hear that? By any means necessary. He's basically saying we have to go to the moon. Why? I don't think people are connecting the dots. Something is going on. Again, there was some information that I got about something. I'm going to be putting it into the Marfoogle alerts because I'm not going to say it here. It is something that I was told at the same time I was told that the country in the world would be unrecognizable in 3 years. That same person told me about some privied knowledge. And don't worry, it's nothing that will affect, at least it won't affect the U.S. It will affect somewhere on the world. So I'll put that in there. All you have to do to join that, I will let you guys know later during the kind of announcement thing. Pence said NASA needs to achieve that goal by any means necessary. Speaking at a meeting of the National Space Council in Huntsville, Alabama, he said NASA rockets and lunar landers will be replaced by private craft if required. They're saying anything. As far as the bureaucracy of it, he says, nope, we're going to get private ships up there if we have to. This is a serious thing, is what I'm thinking this is meaning. It's time to redouble our effort. Why? If it's just something to say we did it first, it doesn't make sense. We started a space force. We are saying that we have to get there. Unless the only option in my mind, and this is in my mind, is we get to resources before them, or we know that another country is basically trying to build some sort of weapon up there. If you think about it, that would be one of the best places to put some sort of laser weapon or something like that. If somebody's invented something that could attack us. The moon goes around everywhere on the Earth. I mean, if you think about it, you could also use it for surveillance. I mean, some of you even think, hell, the thing might be a satellite in the first place. It might be a hollow moon. It might be made of cheese. If it was, I would hope that it's like really good cheese. It says now the earliest possible landing on the moon by NASA isn't till 2028, Pence said. He acknowledged talent and money will be necessary to pull it off earlier. So he's basically saying, Pence warned that if NASA can't put astronauts on the moon by 2024, quote, we need to change the organization, not the mission. Why? Why does it have to be moved up 4 years? Why are they putting this money in here just for 4 years? If you think about it, time flies. It was yesterday, it was 1999, and now it's 2020. That's 20 years. It just flew like, if you're old enough to know, I mean, I don't have too many 20-year-old viewers, but if you're old enough to remember 1999, it doesn't seem like that far away. It's like boom, boom, boom. Why do they care about 4 little years? And remember the landing craft, the $1 billion contract for landing craft, that got moved from 2029 to 2023. 5 years, and they rushed it. In fact, they rushed it so bad, I reported this, that they made mistakes. They actually made mistakes on these craft. One of them, the door fell off. It seems kind of urgent. Doomed bare sheet spacecraft snapped this picture moments before crashing into the moon. The lander would have been the first private mission to reach the moon. So this is the picture, which looks like it's basically on the moon, with lens flare and all. And what I think is kind of weird is, like, no matter how good of the camera that they get up there, it's like the moon still looks like it's like pixelated or like it's some sort of composite. It looks strange to me. I don't know if that's just my observation, but preliminary data supplied by the engineering teams of Space IL and IS Aerospace Industries, IAI, suggests a technical glitch in one of Bearsheet's components triggered the chain of events yesterday that caused the main engine of the spacecraft to malfunction. The mission explained in a statement released Friday. Without the main engine working properly, it was impossible to stop Bearsheet's velocity. Bearsheet overcame the issue by restarting the engine. However, by that time, its velocity was too high to slow down and the landing could not be completed as planned. Something about this just really smells fishy to me. Lockheed Martin proposes early gateway to put astronauts on the moon by 2024. So Lockheed Martin, one of the most advanced companies that does weapons and is a weapons manufacturer and has had ties with several previous presidents, is basically trying to spearhead the project. It says the private aerospace company Lockheed Martin unveiled new details about its proposed architecture for landing NASA astronauts on the moon in 2024, making the announcement here at the 35th Space Symposium on Wednesday, April 10th, so 2 days ago. Vice President Mike Pence, who is the head of the National Space Council, directed NASA to speed up its plans and land humans on the moon and to target a human moon landing in 2024, or 4 years earlier than NASA had been planning. And again, Space Force was enacted. We are now telling it, now it's the government. It is literally the president office that is saying, we need to get to the moon now. Why? Why are they designing HAMMER? Hypervelocity, Asteroid Mitigation and Emergency Response. Why is Russia doing it? Why is China doing it? Why is Germany doing it? Was the video put on YouTube a real thing? People related it to Coast, which is funny. The Coast call that came in about Area 51, about the guy that was crying and saying, they know where to move people, they know where is going to be safe, but they don't tell anybody, blah, blah, and it was crying, and then the entire radio station satellite got cut. Basically, somebody did not want people to hear that. People related this gentleman's video to that. They said if it was fake, it was the best possible fake ever done, ever purposed. Military chimed in. They said the dude's uniform, everything about it was real. And he had some stripes. So this guy was higher up and was crying and just sweating, and it didn't look good. So I don't know. I think that there is something to look at. Again, here's all the missions. Obviously, there's been a lot of weird stuff. And a lot of the failures are other countries. Like, they've been sabotaged.
Well, Mr. Marfoogle and Fam, how's it going tonight?
Hey, what's going on? Is this Snafu?
This is Snafu Snaps. How are you guys doing? How are you, man?
What's going on? So,
well, okay. You got me intrigued on your moon theory because honestly, you're hitting jackpots with so many stuff because there's a lot of stuff that we're getting reports about too that have evolved at. And I just wanted to mention one memory lane, back down memory lane like you did with YouTube going down.
Okay, go ahead. So, but you remember, right? I mean, like this all went down.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody was covering it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember and I like to call it YouTube's first blackout because shortly after that, we saw CenturyLink go down, we saw Lyft go down, we saw Facebook, we saw big companies go down shortly after that. That was like the first blackout. But I remember that. And then all the people who were posting the moon things and all that, I remember the whole story. I want to go back to way further back, and it's real interesting. Space Force is what confirmed this for me. With all the political moves that we see, all the theatrics, all the craziness, and the desensitizing of America by this crazy stuff we're seeing. Do you remember the quasi-universal intergalactic denomination, also known as QUID? It was the first proposed space currency. Do you remember that?
Okay, no. So I'm going to look it up because I'm sure several other people
QUID.
are. Okay, so QUID, and then I'll just put quasi.
Yeah, quasi-universal, and what's weird about it is it was in London, and it was legit. Scientists worked on it, and a bunch of elites were like involved in it, and big money was involved in this whole thing, and it's a real deal. When Space Force got confirmed, it reminded me of the QUID, and we know if stuff hits the money makes the world go round, as that old saying goes, and they're gonna have to money is still money, it's the ultimate evil, and I just remember that your moon thing was on point. There's a lot of stuff pointing to it, and it just reminded me of the universal money system that they got going on, especially with the crypto going up and all the signs we're seeing.
Well, and just to let everybody know, because they probably won't be able to read this, it says the quasi-universal intergalactic denomination, QUID, is a proposed, quote, space currency created as a viral marketing campaign launched by Travelex with the London-based public relations and advertising firm. Talk PR, the full name, is a backronym from quid, a slang for the British pound. The campaign stated that Travelex was launching a new form of money for space tourists that had no sharp edges, was chemically inert, and had other advantages over paper money. It says after coming up with the idea of space money campaign, Talk PR and Travelex contacted the National Space Center, whose employees were presented with a number of mock-ups made by the campaign of artists and were asked to select one. The end result was a series of circular clear discs with colored centers symbolizing the 8 planets of the solar system inside. The denominations ranging from 1 to 10, each quid coin would have its own unique code number similar to the serial number on paper currency to allow tracking and to prevent counterfeiting. Travelex stated that it planned to work with the Bank of England to begin registering the quid as possible legal currency in the future. This is nuts, man. That is really crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and it just reminded me because we have a lot of ties to elites involved and things to that. And it's just, I was like, man, Marf is on, and there's a lot of reports of drilling going on for minerals, because if they knew something was going down, and then props to those guys doing research out there on just like the magnet field and stuff. But, you know, if stuff was going down, they're going to be doing as many projects as they can do if that's going on. But, like, there's so much deception nowadays that, you know, is nuts. But it reminded me of Quid. Your story was like, man, I remember the space currency, man. They're loading up.
It's just weird. Well, that's awesome, Snafu. I actually have never heard of that, so I guess I'm dumb. Every time I say I've never heard of something, somebody goes, oh, yeah, he's dumb. He doesn't even know about Quid.
No, we're here to share. Dude, you are a voice for the people, my friend, dude. Your work is important. The family is great, dude. And honestly, it's just, we the people, man, and we just got to do it, man. Work it up and just, you know, and trust the Lord with all your heart. Lean on your own understanding. If you don't believe in God, just know that others are not alone. We know, you know, we see what's kind of happening in the world. Change.
Well, hey, thank you for calling in, Snafu. That was a great point. Is there anything else you want to say real quick before you go?
Man, just, you know what? If you guys, like I said, I'm getting up there on subs. Once I get up there, I'll get my live stream going. But don't even worry, because people are getting hit, people aren't. And I just want to say thank you to being a voice, man. Let's go hit flyers on cars one day, go to work, and get Marf's channel verified, man. Get these bigger guys safeguarded, and just share information, guys. Share truth, man. That's all I love. I love it, man.
Well, thank you, Snafu. I'm gonna pull up your channel. I appreciate you. All right.
Well, either way, man, just thank you, bro. We're in crazy times, dude. We are.
Okay, all right. You have a good night. Bye-bye. Okay, so this is a big deal. We have started a Discord for every state in the United States and for countries outside. Like I've said, we've added Mexico and France because of so many requests. This is a chance for you to go and meet like minds that are worried or that want to prepare or are just logical. They think, hey, if we prepare for the worst, something slightly bad happens, we will be set. Like I've always said, we had an EF2 tornado 15 minutes away from Seattle. Nobody expected it. Their roofs were ripped off. And I guarantee you, not one person there prepared for a tornado. Why? Because we don't have tornadoes. The world is changing. No matter where you live, you have something that is a risk to you. It may not be the end of the world. It might be a natural disaster. It might be something you never expect. Say a nuclear plant you didn't even know that was 2 miles away from you blows up. Who knows? But it is always proper to prepare. All of the biggest prepper people are getting just hyped up. They see it coming. So whatever may come your way, again, prepare for the worst, and if nothing happens, you've got some extra supplies. Find your local state group, pop right in there, share and learn prep and intel, and if you are military, what you can do is we have a military-only group for former and current active military. You can go in there and you can talk to other soldiers. You can basically just talk to people that are like you, that have been through the same experiences. We have found now people are giving us feedback saying that one gentleman said that it's like therapy for him. He met a gentleman that was in the exact same platoon, or not platoon, the same unit, same everything, went through the same exact scenario, and it was the first time since he left the military that he was able to talk to somebody about the things that he saw and actually not feel like they were just kind of bouncing it off. Like, wow, did you kill anybody? That's the kind of stuff military guys get asked. And when you're talking to somebody else military, it's amazing what has come out of this. If you want to join the Discord group, just go to marfooglenews.com. You'll see the alerts, which here's where this comes in. If we get disconnected, if we get totally taken off, or if we do like what we did a week and a half ago and go just a step over what we're supposed to and tell you something we're not, we might get taken away. A lot of people are disappearing. you can still reach us through Marfoogle Alerts. It is on our website. It's up at the top. Just go to marfooglenews.com. It says Alerts and Discord. We're going to send out a newsletter or alerts. If something happens, it's going to be a mass blast. We actually pay to actually have this service for you guys. So we are going to pay to alert you. So please join it. Join the alerts and the Discord. Because if something happens to us, we are going to blast it out.